What is going on, YouTube? I am Germ here. Today, as you guys can see up on the screen, I wanted to talk a little bit about Leader. He was a really hyped up and kind of promising, not rookie. He's had a little bit of time at LEC before. I don't really know exactly what to call him. Just an inexperienced player who everyone thought deserved one more chance or another opportunity or whatever. And he was the mid laner that Selfmade said he wanted to play with. And there was just people excited about this new Vitality roster, obviously with Crownshot, with Selfmade, with Leader, SLT in the top lane, ends up being Cisgenda in the top lane, and all these different moves. People were hyped up for this team, saying that they thought they could be a playoff team. And unfortunately for Vitality fans, Leader fans, whoever, things haven't been going great for Vitality this split, and we're going to go over some of their issues, some of their problems, but also talking about Leader specifically. Now that this didn't work out, what does the future have in store for him? And that's what we're going to be talking about. So definitely drop a like if you guys do enjoy this video. I would appreciate it so much. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. We're on that road to 10,000 subscribers. With your guys' help, we can get there a little bit faster. And consider checking out my Patreon, patreon.com/IamGerm, if you want to go that extra mile supporting me, my channel, and my content. With that being said, here we go. So this video got sparked because I was scrolling through Twitter and I saw these tweets from Leaker Zoo, who is a really big account in the rumor scene, a person who I followed a ton in the last offseason, but overall just a person who watches a ton of League of Legends, and generally I agree with their opinions, generally I agree with their takes, so I think they're a pretty good follow on Twitter, but they tweeted this out the other day. They said that Leader should probably just stick to streaming at this point. So right off the bat, big statement here from people, but this is something that a lot of people are saying, and that people didn't necessarily disagree with, at least in the replies to this tweet and stuff. He hasn't managed to fix his champion pool issue in years. If you guys don't know, I don't know how much you guys have followed European regional leagues or the LEC or whatever, but Leader is a guy who has been known for his melee champion play. He's been known for things like the Akali, the Yone. This split, he's played a ton of Viego in the mid lane, and his win rates, his KDAs, his stats, his damage per minute, everything in the European regional leagues over the years has always been very good on melee champions, and very just average, pedestrian, below average on these mages. It's literally melee champions he's had an above 50% win rate in competitive, and on range champions he has had a below 50% win rate in competitive, even in European regional leagues, where obviously the competition is good, but it's not LEC caliber. He went on to say that it's obvious he struggles when he's not on AD Assassins. He thought this was clear when they signed him, that it should be the only thing that he is playing, which is really rough, because on one hand, it's kind of crazy because a lot of people were like, damn, if Leader is ever going to work out, it's going to be this split. We see a ton of melee champions in the mid lane, and we really have for the whole split. So it seemed like a good situation for Leader to be coming into. He gets to play a ton of melee champs, and they're actually meta. They're actually strong. Like I said, he's played a ton of Viego in this split. Also, he's getting to play with Selfmade, who wants to play with him, has confidence in him, and has that crazy aggressive playstyle that it seems like Leader would fit in well with. And if things didn't go well in this situation on this team in this meta, think of if next year that things go back to more control mages, things go back to more range champions. Like, it's just going to get worse for Leader. So this was really not a great showing for him. Leaker Zoo did go on to say that even worse is when he gets his champs, like Yone, for example, he regularly runs it and he's not up to par. Leader just isn't an LEC level player. You can't refuse to play mages and be mediocre on the few champions that you do pick. Tons of people have already said that. Some people already said that in EU Masters, but people ignored it and overhyped him. The current meta should be quite good meta for him, and he should be dominating, but the Leader experiment failed really hard. And again, I agree with a ton of this. Honestly, one of the only things I disagree with is that people were hyping him really hard. I honestly, before this split, saw a lot of people saying that Leader didn't look that good in his most recent European Regional League split. Most people were saying that maybe last year or you know, in some previous splits in the European Regional Leagues, Leader would have maybe done better in the LEC, but they were saying he looked out of form, that he didn't look good. He wasn't dominating in the ERLs, and for this to be the time that he got called up to the LEC was a little bit strange to people, was a little bit weird. They didn't understand why in the past, when he had better splits, when he had been in better form, he didn't get as many opportunities. But now that he has a bad split in the ERLs, this is when they're going to call him up. So I agree. He definitely, got overhyped for sure. That's without a doubt. But there was honestly a lot of naysayers and stuff at the time. A lot of people who were skeptical. I was personally just saying, what if the meta changes? What if these things come back? What if we start to see more control mages? And for them, we have maybe a little bit, but not a ton. Honestly, there's still been a ton of melee champions you've been able to play throughout the whole split. So that's even worse for him, the fact that things haven't changed. Some of the stuff that's going on right now is that in the LEC, Vitality is currently 5-10. Now, they are only one game back of the top 6, so they could still make the playoffs, and that's kind of where people projected them. I think a lot of people coming into the split projected them between 5th and 6th. So, honestly, they're not too far off from that, but most people were not expecting them to have a 5-10 record going into the last weekend. Obviously, now the best they can finish is 8-10, and that's not what a lot of people were expecting from Vitality coming into the split. Also, the interesting thing here is that Vitality actually has a lot of expiring contracts. They have Selfmade, who is going to be a free agent in this next offseason, and they have Crown Shot as well. That is kind of their two biggest players, their two biggest stars. So the fact that stuff didn't work out this split for the team is really a bad sign, because I think Crown Shot and Selfmade both are going to get a ton of other interesting offers, and they really could go a bunch of different ways. Now, Leader himself is actually signed until 2022, but that doesn't mean much. If this team does break up, or if, they just have another not good week in this last week, say they miss the playoffs or something, I can absolutely see Vitality moving on from Leader and him going back to European Regional Leagues and maybe being stuck there for good. Like Leaker Zoo says, maybe it's time for Leader to just go back to streaming, because it just isn't good. It's not working out right now. I mean, when you look at some of the stats, they're not honestly terrible, but they're pretty bad. He really looks like he's just not LEC level at this point. In terms of KDA, he is actually the second worst KDA throughout the LEC split. The only one who is worse is Nuclear Int, who is a very young up-and-coming talent who kind of got thrown in last minute after Abadage got sold off. And he plays on the worst team in the league right now, so, his stats are going to be a little bit less. But what's really, really interesting to me is that Leader, he's towards the bottom in kills. He is towards the top in deaths, and he is not getting very many assists. He is just really not doing a whole lot of things good. But really, he's not passing the eye test for me personally either. I'm sure this is for a lot of other people as well. When I've watched Vitality games to split, he has had some of the most random, some of the strangest deaths, where even the casters and everyone at home and everyone watching the game is like, what just happened? How did he think that was going to be a good play? How did he think that was going to work out? Some of the deaths that he has in these competitive games honestly look solo queue-esque. And yes, some players just need time for those things to develop. Some players just, maybe need to work out their kinks or whatever, figure out the limits they can do in the LEC. But Leader's a guy who's been around for a while now. Yes, he hasn't got a ton of LEC time, a ton of stage time, but he's been a competitive player for a while, and I think people were really expecting, or at least needing better from him, especially a team like Vitality that's actually going to have some money and is going to be looking to spend. I can't really see them running into the next season with Leader. So, if they have a crazy last week, if Vitality goes 3-0, if they look really good, maybe things could change. But as of right now, I agree with Leaker Zoo that I do think the Leader experiment did fail, and I would not be surprised at all if Vitality moves on from him and we don't see him in the LEC this next season or maybe ever again. Just think that guys like Nemesis never even found their way back to the LEC, and I would say Nemesis is a good deal better than Leader. But yeah, I was hyped up. I was excited for this Vitality team, but again, they're 5-10 right now, and things are not looking great. But that is pretty much it for this video today, guys. Definitely drop a like if you did enjoy it. I'd appreciate it so much. Leave a comment down below. What do you think about Leader? Would you want him on your team? Do you think a team should pick him up? Do you think he should go to European Regional League, stream? I don't know. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. Consider checking out my Patreon, patreon.com/IamGerm. Hopefully catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace.